Hey guys, Matt Persley here. This is your Park Hill Daily for April 9th of Holy Week, which makes it Maundy Thursday, one of my favorite Christian holidays. You heard me right. It's Maundy Thursday, not Monday Thursday. Maundy comes from an Old English word, which now just means mandate. But back in the day, it had kind of brother and sister syllables, which are more, we would recognize more commonly today. Words like commandment or covenant, or even, I don't know if you're familiar with this one, Testament, the New Testament. So we could go around saying, open your Bibles into the back half, the new Maundy, but I think we'll probably end up sticking with Testament. Anyways, the Hebrew scriptures always told of a new covenant, a new testament that would come. That the Old Testament, the law of Moses, was never supposed to be eternal. It was just supposed to be temporary, that something better was coming. We know that today as the new covenant. And here in our readings today, we're going to be in John 13. And this is where we see Jesus give his disciples that new covenant, that new promise. The prophet Ezekiel told them, one day God's going to make you new and he's going to write his law on your hearts. It won't have to be on tablets of stone anymore. Well, today in John 13, that's true. Most of us know this chapter from the famous, kind of dramatic story about this rising, influential leader, Jesus of Nazareth, washing the feet of his disciples. And we know Jesus was a rabbi on the move. He was moving from town to town with his disciples. And so they were always walking on roads that would second as really the town gutter system, since they didn't have central plumbing. Which meant that this act wasn't just a huge act of humility and service for Jesus. It was also really probably a pretty awkward and embarrassing moment for his disciples as well. And they would obviously be asking the question, what is Jesus getting at? Well, he was turning the strong weak, and he was making the weak strong. They didn't live in a world where the underdog had value, where the marginalized or the oppressed found advocacy. They lived in a world where the strong ate the weak. And so for centuries, the Jews were striving to maintain their individual morality under the law of Moses. It was the morally strong who survived. It was the religious zealot who was saved. And that's where we get to our reading in the lectionary, John 13:31, where Jesus shows himself as the servant of fishermen and tax collectors, of construction workers and would-be criminals, instead of the powerful and the influential. He was turning their world upside down. So let's read it together. John 13:31 through 35. Jesus said, "Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and glorify him at once. Little children, a little while I am with you. You will seek me, and just as I said to the Jews, so now I will say to you, where I'm going you cannot come. But a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. By this people will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Park Hill, I love you guys very much, and I pray that as you go in peace this Maundy Thursday, that you will love one another just as Jesus has loved you. See ya.